To order. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I had my mic off. I'm glad I got that dry run out of the way. Welcome to our last meeting of this calendar year. Call our business to order, and I'm going to ask our student school board member to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand and face the flag, hand over your heart, and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
I love how Mr. Itzen just took matters into his own hands and ran out here and turned on the mic. Thank you. We welcome those who are here for the purposes of addressing the board at the proper time and in the order of their request. If you wish to speak during the meeting, please fill out a form indicating your name and the agenda item you wish to address. You may also make a request to give testimony on an item not listed for discussion today. However, full discussion on any items not listed on the agenda will have to be delayed until such a time as the item can be publicly posted in advance as a regular agenda item. If you wish to ask questions, please address them to the chair and not to the individual members of the board or staff. The board met in closed session regarding matters listed on today's closed session agenda and wishes to report that no reportable actions were taken. Is that correct, Mr. North? Yes? We don't have anything to report on. Okay. So we do have public hearing today. Want to ask if there are any members of the public here for item 9.1, public hearing on the resolution of the Governing Board of Education of the Long Beach Unified School District authorizing submittal of surplus property waiver applications for 999 Atlantic Avenue, Long Beach, California 90813 and 4310 Long Beach Boulevard, Long Beach, California 90807 to the State Board of Education. Leticia, do we have anyone speaking tonight? Okay, so we will move on, and then I will call for the agenda items for separate action and adoption of the agenda as posted.
Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Do a roll call vote. Let's start with Ms. Crackett.
Aye.
Ms. Kerr.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. Approval of minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Crackhead, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so our minutes are approved 4-0. And now, without further ado, Mr. Andrew Inda from McBride. Don't forget the agreement that we had tonight, Andrew. Who sings first? Today is up for debate.
Okay. I want to thank the school board and Long Beach Unified School District for allowing me to be here this afternoon. I'd also like to thank Principal Moraga for supporting me here today. My name is Andrew, the president of McBride student body. I am proud to be a representative of this prestige high school where students are encouraged to strive to be leaders, like the civil rights activists our school was named after. With 2 of our 3 pathways gold certified, students are focused around their interests and are prepared to challenge demands of college in pursuing their desired careers and futures. Molding young minds into good students, good leaders, and to have good character is the goal. McBride has accomplished this goal thus far by providing students with advanced classes, AP classes for the future, while succeeding with a 100% graduation rate. McBride has also held several events and opportunities for the students. For example, we have had a very successful Fall Fest, which is like an annual festival for the club, and enjoyed a homecoming dance and a 9th and 10th grade social, like to help them ease from online education. We've also had a very eventful Site Night, Spirit Week, and Club Rush. Some opportunities that were provided were seminars for college preparation, chances for certification from our like teachers, and a wellness center funded by the district, which all the students are very thankful for. Next to our own accomplishments, we have also collaborated with other schools to produce a VEX robotics competition and basketball scrimmages. Currently, we are collaborating with other schools to plan the upcoming formal after break. Overall, I'm very pleased and very grateful to my school and to my district for providing us with everything that we have. And thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, and a big, big shout out and congratulations, yeah. And to the staff at McBride for that 100% graduation rate as well. So, Andrew, given that you have a 100% chance of graduating, what are your plans after graduation?
Currently, I plan to go to LBCC and pursue an engineering and continue with search and rescue.
Awesome. Very awesome. And we have some exciting news to share later on tonight, too, about LBCC. When you go there, there's going to be a cool guy at the helm. There. Colleagues, any questions, thoughts for our school board member?
Tell me a little bit about search and rescue. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it for a couple of weeks now, I believe 14 weeks now. We go every Tuesday, and it's just like the academy before actually going into and proceeding with emergencies and stuff like that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I hate to put you on the spot here, but I'm curious. I know it's been a interesting year to say the least. What would you say is probably the most exciting thing that's happened on campus thus far?
It's really hard to say what's been the most exciting, because like every day with my peers and actually being on campus again and being around people, it's just been really cool and really fun. But I'd have to say the Fall Fest was really fun, because it's like a huge festival with all my friends and stuff.
Thank you for being here, Andrew, and we wish you the best in all you do.
Absolutely. Hopefully, we will not require the uses of your search and rescue, but if and when we do, I want you to be the one, Andrew.
Thank you.
Andrew, we realize it's a school night, so if you need to get home, we completely understand. But you forgot to ask Mr. Miller to do the song and dance that we had talked about, Andrew.
That was our inside joke, and I actually prefer not to today. But next time, next time.
Thank you, Andrew. Great job. So we are moving on to our recognitions and acknowledgements, our student, staff, and school celebrations, and we have a student from Oropesa that we will see tonight.
Hey, my name is Sean. I'm a 5th grader student at Oropesa Elementary. Being a student at Oropesa, you'll feel very safe, feels kind, feels like nothing's going to happen to you, and if you need like moral support, they have a lot of support every day. As soon as you walk through the building, you can just feel like kindness everywhere. And when I'm in the classroom, you also feel very safe, because like all my friends and stuff sit by me, and it's like a good energy in the room. It's never negative. My favorite subject in Oropesa is actually math, because I feel like math is very important. I want to be a lawyer when I get older, so like, because we've been learning about Black history and stuff, and I want to be a lawyer so I can help bring that justice back. What I'm looking forward to middle school is like all the stuff I need to study to become a lawyer, like my reading, my academics, my vocabulary, all that stuff. I'm focusing on that, so in the future it'll be easier to become a lawyer. I love it that you have millions and millions and millions of people here in Oropesa that care and are loving and thankful and stuff. Every day is super thankful, and when thankful month do hit, it's even more and more thankful. And it's just a pleasure to be at Oropesa.
Oh my goodness. I want to study black history and become a lawyer. And yeah, bring justice back. And being surrounded by kindness. Kindness everywhere, he said. That's all we need at our schools, right? For our students to just believe there's kindness everywhere at the school. Wonderful. Thank you for putting that together, Mr. Itzen. Let's move on to our public testimonies on items listed on the agenda. Mr. Suarez, can we start with our first public comment?
Hi, good evening. My name is Robert Hamilton.
Good evening. Welcome.
Hi. I would like to talk to you tonight about sexual assaults in our schools. The article within the Long Beach Post, I'm sure you've all seen that, at Lakewood High School. The kids walked out and demonstrated. It's just the beginning. And the more I investigate sexual assaults in our schools, I find that it's starting to become a systemic problem here, and no one is really talking about it. The gender-neutral bathroom at Lakewood High School has become really a cesspool. And according to the teacher I spoke to just yesterday, they stated that students were, one, having sex, smoking, vaping, doing drugs in there. It got so bad they had to put a teacher in front of it. That didn't work. They put a guard in front of it. Now they closed it. So they closed it due to be unsafe for our kids. By building co-ed locker rooms, you'll be intentionally placing our children, my daughter in particular, as a student at Wilson, at a much greater risk of sexual assault than kids at other schools. Some of our same district, Cabrillo High School, has the model of a locker room that we need. I understand that the locker rooms can have, they don't need gang showers, as you say. They don't need this. They could have the same closed things that they have that in the plan itself. They could have individual stalls in the girls' room and a boys' room. Transgender kids can have access to both sides, whatever they deem fit for themselves. They don't need to have a boys' side, just one locker room area. They could have it. They could do the same thing, solve all the problems with a boys and a girls with individual stalls. This very issue cost the former governor of Virginia his re-election recently. You know, those are his words. This issue will indeed cost some of you your elections. If you are unwilling or incapable of protecting our children and the health and safety of our children in our schools, how can we trust you? How can the citizens of Long Beach even begin to trust you as a city council person to govern all of our community needs? And the answer really is we can't. We need you to protect our children at all costs. My daughter's a sophomore at Wilson. Who will protect her in these locker rooms? Can't close off. Bad guys don't stop going in there. Pedophiles will not stop going in there. They brought up and quoted in the last meeting, board meeting, from an article about Cal Berkeley and their unisex locker room. The only problem I have is they didn't tell all the facts from the article. You spoke about equity and inclusion, but you did not talk about equity and inclusion for all the students. What you left out of the article was the portion about the Sunday Times. Sunday Times and their information, their findings from the Freedom of Information Act, and the data that unisex facilities are more dangerous than single sex. It stated that 2/3 of all sexual assaults in swimming pools
Thank you.
take
Your
place in
time is up.
unisex bathrooms.
Your 3 minutes are up, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Isabelle Arena. I'm a 4-year varsity swim team member representing Wilson Girls Aquatics Program today. I hope to raise awareness about the concerns of the new locker room proposal. Safety is a concern for all of our students. We believe with the new proposal, students of all genders may be subjected to unwanted photography, harassment, and/or sexual assault inside individual stalls. While these actions may occur on campus regardless, the infiltration of all students and athletes in one locker room causes an increased concern for students and their families. I would also like to share commentary about the window overlooking the co-ed locker room. When we promote student-to-coach relationships, we encourage relationships of respect and safety. In the current design plan, we can all identify the bay window for the coach's office that peer into the locker room in an attempt to monitor locker room activity. Instead, these windows lack the privacy students deserve as they dress or undress to contribute to Wilson's athletics and physical education programs. While our coaching staff continues to have credibility and integrity among students, these windows may raise suspicion in students towards their coaches and may cause misinterpretations down the line. As I speak here today on behalf of my coaches, it is to my knowledge they do not feel comfortable with the proposed office situation. With this, I would like to clarify that inappropriate adult behavior on Wilson's campus is not condoned and is addressed immediately when students approach campus adults about the behavior. Continuing on, I would like to address the concerns that have been brought to my attention by other students. To begin with, any girl athlete, especially swimmers who encounter a menstrual mishap, feel that walking past boys with blood running down their legs is a humiliating feeling to experience. Furthermore, boys' comments that have been brought to my attention are about the concerns for false allegations and conflicts that may arise while being in the same changing space as others. Ultimately, the proposed plans are not realistically safe and functional for all students to partake in. Every morning practice Wilson girls water polo team has, almost every girl showers and then walks with a towel across others to their clothes. It is unrealistic to expect every girl to change in the same stall that they just showered in. It is also unrealistic for students to be expected to not walk around a locker room in towels and for there to be enough stalls to change in, especially on swim meet days. I hope Wilson Girls Aquatics concerns resonated in the developers' plans for the future locker room ideas. We would also like to reiterate that gender equality and student safety are missions we support with full force, and we hope to work to accomplish these missions in a way that is comfortable for all students at Wilson High School. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board of Education members. My name is Maggie Thompson. I am a physical education teacher and head swimming coach at Wilson High School. Safety is the #1 factor in all of this discussion. I could be talking to you about the rape cases and sexual assaults that have been reported nationwide. However, I am choosing to give you my experience as an educator. I have been involved in the Zoom meetings from day one. In June of 2020, the first Zoom meeting was coordinated by Ferdos Fazeli. All aquatic coaches from the 5 high schools were invited to attend. The blueprint of the aquatic center was described, including the schematics of the pool, the outlying area, and the locker room. There was no mention of a gender-neutral co-ed locker room during the first meeting. Ferdos told the entire group that there would be more meetings to come. In October of 2020, we had our second Zoom meeting with only the Wilson coaches and administrative staff involved. Again, the meeting was coordinated by Ferdos Fazeli. This meeting was broken down into more detail, asking for input on the dimensions of the pool and areas on the pool deck. The presentation of the pool, deck space, and all areas, including the locker room, were presented one slide at a time. When the slide presentation of the locker room was shown, a change had been made listing the locker room as gender neutral. This was not present in the architectural drawing in the original presentation from June 2020. Eric Berg, head boys swimming coach, Barry O'D, head girls water polo coach, and myself all spoke out against the idea of a gender-neutral co-ed locker room. All aquatic coaches were never involved in any focus group regarding the locker rooms. Fast forward to where we are today. I have been in the girls' locker room for over 20+ years as a PE teacher. We are an inclusive locker room allowing transgenders, special education students with different abilities, and all females to enter the locker room. The real-life examples that I want to talk about where my concerns are addressed: a female has to change her tampon and rushes into the co-ed locker room. As she is going into that locker room to get a tampon, blood starts flowing down her leg. A male enters the co-ed locker room and sees the female. The female does not make it to the restroom stall. She is now embarrassed and mortified. Having one co-educational gender-neutral locker room has now taken any choice of the individual away. The female does not feel comfortable changing in a stall next to a male student and vice versa. A transgender who is uncomfortable changing in the stall next to the gender he or she is transitioning from. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Leticia, that was the last public comment I had for items on the agenda? Okay. So we will move on to public testimony on items not listed on the agenda. Mr. Suarez, can we ask our first speaker to come in? Good evening, welcome.
Hi, I'm Tracy Myers. Nice to see you all again. I saw you last week. Today I'm going to provide some comments, additional comments about the code and also about the approval process with DSA. Last week I spoke about functionality issues with the current locker room design, and I've identified an additional code violation. Based on my review, the current design violates the following two California Building Code provisions. 3116B.3.3, which relates to privacy, which reads, all doors and windows shall be arranged to prevent viewing of the interior from any portion of the building used by the opposite sex. The current design has 5 large windows that allow adults to view directly into the locker room. And the prior speakers explained, I think, pretty clearly some of the safety issues. The second code violation is section 3116B.2.2, which reads, separate toilet facilities shall be provided for each sex. We know that we don't have separate toilet facilities. That's one of the controversies here. So that's a black and white violation of the building code. During the 11/30/2021 Measure E community meeting, the architect of record said that the privacy issues were guidelines. This is incorrect. The code is not a guideline. The authority having jurisdiction in this matter is the Division of the State Architect, DSA. They review accessibility and structural safety. The remaining provisions of the code, the architect's responsibility is to self-certify. So they're saying that they comply, but nobody's checking on them. That's just the way it works for these types of projects for a variety of reasons. So just because DSA doesn't bring something up doesn't mean that the architect gets away with it or that the code is not being violated. You should expect DSA not to make any comment on these particular issues because it is not within their jurisdictional review. The building code sets forth minimum life safety provisions for the safety of the public. The current co-ed locker room design does not comply with these two code provisions. And as such, the current co-ed locker room design does not meet minimum life safety standards. And that's not acceptable for a public facility that's used by students. I really thank you for your time. I printed out a lot of papers for you guys so you wouldn't have to do that yourself, but the package you got today is the same thing I emailed you. So I appreciate your time and all the hard work you're doing, and I'll probably see you back in January. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are in receipt of the documents that you provided us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your continued patience in reviewing them.
Thank you. Dr. Baker, can we make sure that we get these documents to our facilities staff in the business department? Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Caroline Thompson, and I'm here to discuss vaccine mandates. I want to acknowledge the burden the county and state has placed upon you when they mentioned vaccine and mask mandates. I am a parent of a kinder student. I am also a board-certified behavior analyst and certified trauma and resilience practitioner in education. This year and the year leading up to the pandemic, the buzzword was trauma-informed. Schools across the country started adopting trauma-informed policies. Being the person on the front line for students with social, emotional, and behavioral issues, I can personally attest that the next pandemic is indeed going to be a trauma pandemic. We are already starting to see the effects of this. I understand Long Beach Unified has also adopted policies as it relates to being a trauma-informed school district. One of the primary tenets of being a trauma-informed district is to not re-traumatize your people. I want to say loud and clear that forcing anything on anyone is not trauma-informed. Forcing your teachers and staff to get the vaccine or be fired is not trauma-informed. Forcing parents to vaccinate the kids or they would get kicked out of school is not trauma-informed. Forcing students to pick between participating in a sport or getting the vaccine against their will is not trauma-informed. Forcing students to pick between joining the band or being penetrated by a needle against their will is not being trauma-informed. Continuing to force students with a known sexual abuse history where they had their mouths forced shut to wear masks without giving them an accommodation is not trauma-informed. When adopting trauma-informed policies, providing a safe environment is paramount. Teachers, classified staff, students, and their families don't feel safe right now. The mere thought of forcing a medical procedure on them is beyond horrifying and not trauma-informed. These people would rather quit their jobs, pull their kids out of school, rather than risk having an allergic reaction to an ingredient in the shot, especially when they have a family history of allergic reaction. If Long Beach Unified is truly considering the emotional well-being of their community, they will adopt trauma-informed and student-centered policies that prioritize consent. This is a very scary time for people with a trauma history. When the moment comes down to it, these families will choose to not comply. Long Beach Unified can do a great deal of healing if they were to already make public their intent to not force any procedure on anyone. Adopting a our hands are tied stance is an excuse. Your hands are not tied. I know a lot of students whose hands were literally tied by their abusers. Your hands are not tied. Do the right thing, no medical mandates.
Thank you. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Dr. Baker and board members. I was here a few meetings ago. My name is Jana Diebel, born and raised. I have 4 kids in the school district. I'm just here for a couple of things I wanted to say. I have a lot of concerns about the mandates that are going on, about the gender-neutral locker rooms, and the .22 revolver that was found at Long Beach Poly High School, made it past the random backpack searches. And these concerns are very, very real. And I'm a human being. And when I came here last time and I mentioned the concerns that I had, I don't really know how things work. I didn't come to these meetings before September. This is very new to me, but nobody followed up with me. And so I followed up with my representative, and I live in University Park Estates, and nobody has followed up with me still. And as far as I know, you guys are elected officials, and it seems like you should want to know what's going on with your citizens, right, and be involved, right? It seems to make sense to me. So I just want to know why no one is following up with me. This is not okay. Okay, just wanted to say that. And also, in my neighborhood, there's many other parents that have the same concerns, so I'm coming as a representative to these other parents that are afraid to show their face because they're afraid of being, I've kind of committed social suicide with the views that I have against these vaccine mandates. It's not been easy. So other people in my neighborhood are coming to me and asking me questions, and I'm trying to give them answers, but I can't get answers because nobody's contacting me. I also wanted to talk about, I appreciate that you guys are having a question and answer time with Long Beach Medical Memorial, right? And we haven't figured out how to get our questions in. So we would like to know, how do we submit our questions? That's number one. And number two, my concern with that is you're gonna get the questions ahead of time. So does that mean you get to just pick and choose the questions that you wanna answer? Or are you gonna really answer like the hard questions? And if we don't feel satisfied with the answer, how do we follow up? Like, even now, we can't really have a back and forth. I've learned about the rules. Like, I can ask a question, you can't answer it. But how do I get answers? How do I get like an organic conversation going? Because I really want to solve these problems that we have. I don't want to take my kids out of the school district. I love Long Beach. I love our schools. I love our teachers, and I want to stay. And all the parents I'm talking to, they want to stay too, but we really need some answers. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And whoever my representative is, please communicate with me. Thank you.
Ms. Diebel, just
Yeah.
want to clarify. So the reason that we're not responding to you here with your public comments
Yeah.
is because it's an item not on the agenda?
I know, I learned about the rules.
Yeah,
So
so,
I don't understand them, but I know rules are in place for a reason, and I get that. But I would like to follow up later.
So yes, so what I would suggest is to communicate with our staff.
Okay.
And you can get all that contact. We have your contact information
Okay,
here on
great.
your sheet
Well, I
as well.
did email my representative, and I haven't heard back from that individual yet.
We'll make sure that someone from our staff gets back to you.
I appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's going to speak? Okay, I'm going to bring this down here. Take a look at the time. It's 3
Good evening. Hi there.
and just
Hi.
make sure you introduce
Welcome.
And my name is Diana. I'm with Ivan today.
Hi, Ivan.
Hi. Go ahead and get started. Hi, my name is Ivan Scarlett Shuten. I'm 9 years old and I am a third grader at Longfellow Elementary. I want to tell you about a story about me going to the beach and playing in the waves. I like to play a game where I run away from the waves when they come crashing down. Then I run back waiting for the next wave to come. Sometimes I watch the news with my family and I hear stories about oil leaks and rising oceans. And now I am scared. Those beaches that I like to play on will be gone. They will all be underwater. I also want to share my story with the wildfires last year. There was so much smoke that my soccer game was canceled. My mom wouldn't let me go outside and play because the air was filled with smoke. I didn't even know what was going on at the time. One time when I was picking up my sister from tennis, I saw the sun. But it was so smoky outside that I thought that the sun was the moon. And now I am scared. I'm growing up in a world where I don't know what I am breathing in. And I want to be a kid, but I can't because the air is so dirty. And at the Green Schools campaign rally, it was on September 18th, and I know that because it was my birthday. And I heard a story about a kid who has asthma because of this dirty air. And it was a scary story because I do not want to get asthma just from dirty air. And if I get asthma, I will not be able to do one of my favorite things, run. And I do not want to have to carry an inhaler everywhere I go. I want to be a child and have a regular childhood. I want to play on the beach. I want to run. And if we want this to happen, LBUSD needs to transition to clean energy. For Christmas, I want my childhood back. There's no Planet B, so please do it for me.
Thank you, Ivan.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have 3 minutes on the timer.
Good evening. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Adele, and all I want for Christmas is LBUSD to move away from dirty energy. Our group has worked hard to come up with a resolution for the board to adopt to use clean energy. It's time for LBUSD to be a leader and move away from fossil fuels. Climate change continues to cause disaster after disaster, and yet, as one of the largest districts in California, yes, we still rely on fossil fuels. It's time to step up and step away from dirty energy. For Christmas, I want you all to stand with us in the fight against climate change and do your part as elected officials to make sure you're doing everything, to make sure you're doing, to make sure you're doing everything you can to make a difference. You all are elected to make LBUSD the best district it can be, and to ensure when we leave LBUSD, we have the chance to achieve a bright future. But our future can only be bright if we all do our part to end climate change. You have the opportunity in your role to make a very meaningful change, and I hope you'll be the leaders and step up to be the change we, or our parents, have elected you to be. I look forward to the day, hopefully soon, when LBUSD no longer uses dirty energy. I hope we will have you to thank for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, welcome.
Hello. My name is Jonah Willis. I'm a junior at Long Beach Polytechnic High School, a Moore League champion for varsity cross country, and an avid supporter of the Green Schools campaign. So when I was just an itty-bitty kid, I wanted to be an environmentalist, you see, because I thought it was actually fun to pick up pieces of trash and recycle every little can that I drank out of. And I thought that, after all, every little bit helps. And when I got older, I started dreaming of more popular, flauntable aspirations. I wanted to be the fastest man alive. So I started training for cross country in middle school. And I was really surprised because I expected the gruesome training, but I really, really did not expect to discover just how much smog is in the air, how much garbage is on the streets, and how much oil is in the oceans that I have to run past every single day. And it immediately threw me back into the mindset I once had. But suddenly, picking up a few pieces of litter on my way home didn't just seem little, it seemed too little. And I realized that I can't save our city from all this pollution, but maybe together, all of us, we can, because we absolutely can and we must. When I see little kids coughing horrifically from the smog and the soot in the air, and when I see my own fellow students have to walk through piles of trash on the sidewalk just to get to school, I know something's wrong. And this campaign truly does give me hope, because by converting the energy used by the school district into 100% renewable form by 2025, it'll make a world of difference. And yeah, sure, it's not gonna snap all the garbage and the oil pollutants out of here, but everyone on this planet has the right to clean, fresh air. And if the support of this campaign can help this city achieve this goal, then I will pour my heart and soul into supporting it. And all I want for Christmas is to let everyone know that each little bit does help. But together, through your help, with everyone's help, we can truly make a big difference. That's it.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, welcome.
Hello, my name is Brandon Ryan Golano Bolaro. I'm 14 years old, a sophomore at Camps High School, and I'm here to speak as a member of the Green Schools campaign. I would like to speak about the excessive use of fossil fuels. In the United States, more than 300 million gallons of gas are used daily, and 50 million of those gallons are consumed by California alone. This excess amount of gas usage is contributing to climate change, which causes forest fires, gas leaks in the oceans, and ocean risings. Energy in the form of fossil fuels has been used in our history to help boost technological advancements, but the use of fossil fuels now has gotten to a point where there is much more fuel being used than required, especially with many environment-friendly alternatives. My grandmother would tell me stories of her life, and she would repeat to me the stories of her daily routine. Her routine consisted of gathering firewood to cook for food and to go to the river and get boiling water. And then my mother would tell me stories about her youth, where she took care of her mother's store, cooking food to sell using the same firewood like my grandmother, and walking to her school no matter the weather. I want to share these stories to you because I want you to visualize the change from the past of using minimum amounts of energy to now where energy is being used in insanely large quantities, and the effects of this energy being used is harmful to the environment. It's already the 15th of December, and Christmas is just weeks away. The Green Schools campaign is working to lower the harmful energy used in our school district by slowly working towards to making our district 100% renewable energy. My wish for this Christmas season, our wish from Green Schools Campaign for this Christmas season is to see the school districts a bit cleaner and a bit greener. Even if our effect isn't a lot, even if it's a little, I wish to see our home become a better place. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourselves the first thing.
Good evening. Welcome.
Hello, LBUSD board. My name is Madison Caceres. I'm an 8th grader at Helen Keller Middle School. Today, as a student with the Long Beach Green Schools campaign, I want to talk about why it's important to me that LBUSD commit to 100% renewable energy. I have a sister who has asthma. It's not always a problem, but when under certain conditions, it can cause an asthma attack. One thing that triggers it most often is poor air quality. There are certain places where she'll be winded and pale just from walking. It may not appear that you have any influence over this, but it has been scientifically established that the quantity of pollution produced by schools is linked to bad air quality. I'd always been aware of pollution, but it never really dawned on me until later on in my life. I remember in 7th grade I had to write an argumentative essay about the environment, and after doing some research, it really opened my mind to how severely humans are killing the planet and harming themselves in the process. Humans are prioritizing their own desires over the needs of others. Because schools are such a significant source of pollution and waste, the Long Beach Green Schools campaign's mission sounded like a cause I was passionate about. As a result, we've been attending every board meeting to make our case. And the team is currently working hard to come up with a resolution that will help us achieve our goal more proficiently. We'd like to see the Long Beach Unified School District Board of Education pass a resolution requiring all energy sectors, including heating, ventilation, air conditioning, cooking, and transportation, to use 100% clean, renewable energy by 2030, and all energy sectors to use clean, renewable energy by 2040. There's simply too much at risk for us to continue delaying this process. The International Panel on Climate Change stated in 2018 that we must transition away from fossil fuels in the next 12 years to avoid catastrophic climate change around the planet. It's a time-consuming process, and so to get it done, we need to get everything in motion now. There's a movement to transition buses, mostly school buses, from diesel to electric, but even this process takes 13 to 18 months, which is essential for us to get this done now. Not only will we reduce the dangerous greenhouse gases, but transition off of fossil fuels creates potential for saving money, as electricity generated by clean electric is consistently cheaper than fossil fuels, and costs continue to drop. There will also be a numerous advantage for students and residents in the area. Asthma will not be as severe in people like my sister. But as to why it is important to me, clean energy improves air quality. I don't want to have to worry about my sister having an asthma attack. I don't want to have to fear seeing her at the emergency room because she ran the mile at school. Please give me the gift of not having to continually worry about my sister this Christmas. LBUSD, please take the steps to ensure that my sister and I can breathe clean air by passing a resolution committing LBUSD to 100% clean energy. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you. You too. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Ben Lynch. I'm a current senior attending Lakewood High School. I am outdoorsy, I am vegetarian, I'm a Boy Scout, I'm a Lakewood resident, and I am disappointed. I am disappointed that more people haven't taken the climate change issue seriously. Throughout my life, I have never been able to understand why people litter, and as I have grown, I have learned more about the anthropogenic activities that result in unnecessary waste. I have learned about and seen firsthand how our environment and its inhabitants have been negatively affected by humans. As I walk around the city or down the beachfront, I can't help but notice all of the trash discarded and neglected by those around me. And to put it simply, seeing this ruins my day. I go home uneasy and unhappy about the condition of my community. One of the first things I became more aware of our environmental impacts was when I was hiking in the mountains. I saw a fire in the distance and there were huge plumes of smoke. Luckily, it wasn't moving towards me, so I didn't have to rush out of the area. But it made me think about our environment and how it's on fire. This is one of the experiences that has inspired me to be more involved and do my best to take part in the battle against climate change. I believe that teaching students about the environment and how their actions impact the world around them is important, not only to increase their awareness, but also to inspire a responsibility within them to protect the world we live in. The earth needs our help to save it. We need to change human activities and take personal and communal action to decrease our negative impacts on the environment. We need to act quickly to reduce our general air pollution, carbon emissions, water waste, plastic pollution, and so much more to work against climate change. My hope is that our actions can not only achieve our goals, but that we can exceed them. District involvement and investment in clean energy will show LBUSD students that climate conflicts are a real issue, and increased awareness will encourage students to take steps towards identifying and improving the wrongs they see around them. The Green Schools campaign is committed to the goal of renewable energy across all sectors of the district by 2040. We'd like to see commitment from the district towards this goal as well. So here's my Christmas wish. Dear LBUSD, all I want for Christmas is for a resolution to be passed and for LBUSD to commit to 100% clean, renewable energy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello. Hello, my name is Joshua Choi. I'm from Long Beach Polytechnic High School, and I'm in 9th grade. What I want for Christmas is clean energy. I'm here to talk about my friend's experience on how she's affected by this bad air quality in our nation. My friend that goes to Milliken, she has been affected by it her whole life. First, she couldn't even play certain sports or do certain stuff that involved running a lot. It made it hard to breathe at some point when the weather got cold because she would cough a lot. And another thing that made it hard for her was the bad air quality because of the wildfires. This means at some point she wasn't able to do anything and had to stay inside. I'm very fortunate that I do not have asthma and many others would be. I understand what my friend is going through, and I understand how bad she is hurting. It hurts to see her like this, and we can help people with asthma by taking small steps at a time and to have clean energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. My name is Dave Shukla. I am a proud product of the Long Beach Unified School District. There's a sign outside this building that says America's Best Urban Schools, and that's something that I would very much agree with. I'm very happy here today to be speaking in support of the Green Schools campaign. I think it's something that is a long time coming. I graduated from Long Beach Poly in 1998. They gave me, a couple other folks, the medal or medallion, whatever they call it, the first year they started doing that. And at that time, there wasn't anything like environmental science. There wasn't anything like talking about the Kyoto Protocol, which is something that I was very interested in as a 17-year-old. I'm now 41, and one of the things that I spend my time doing is trying to convince our city government to commit to 100% clean energy, which, as you may know, is a bit of an ask. This is something that's achievable, and it's something that you can do, and it's certainly in the best interest of the students here in LBUSD. It's also something that's happening throughout the region. The County of Los Angeles just committed everyone in unincorporated areas to 100% clean energy through their load servicing entity, Clean Power Alliance, just last week. The city of Irvine yesterday, I wrote a letter to the city council people yesterday, and then I heard about it, a couple hours later. They voted unanimously to commit the city of Irvine to 100% clean energy by 2025. These are things that are increasingly happening, and our students deserve as much of an opportunity as anyone else in the region to be a part of this transition, this necessary transition to a more sustainable economy. One of the real virtues of this campaign is that it highlights how making a commitment to procuring electricity generated from 100% clean, renewable sources has this added benefit of creating the incentives and momentum for on-campus opportunities. LBUSD schools and programs can be living laboratories for students to not only get STEAM, science, tech, engineering, arts, and maths experience, but also real-world experience in some of the practical applications in developing the clean energy economy. I'm the co-founder and operations director of a small climate science and action nonprofit, the Long Beach Alliance for Clean Energy. This is the exact sort of thing that we were created to promote, and I thank you very much for providing an opportunity for me to speak to you about it.
Thank you. Leticia, how are we doing on time? Okay. Yeah, we have two left, so I'm going to suggest to my colleagues here that we listen to both.
Can I start?
Hello,
Okay.
good evening, welcome.
Good evening, LBUSD School Board. My name is Kirsten Buku, and I am a 10th grader at Long Beach Polytechnic High School. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present at today's board meeting and to tell you about the reason that I got involved in the Long Beach Green Schools campaign and climate activism. My passion for the environment came from a video I watched that discussed all the plastic in the ocean. I'm sure that everyone here has heard about the fact that by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Or how about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is simply a collection of trash that has accumulated between California and Hawaii and estimated to be twice the size of Texas. Watching that video on ocean plastic made me realize just how much plastic there is and how it affects us. It also made me realize how it is going to affect our beaches and oceans in the future, which has made me very concerned and wanted to protect the environment. I also saw a video on thrifting, and I thought it was very interesting as it can save money while simultaneously reducing the negative harm on the environment. A pivotal moment that happened in my life is when I noticed all the trash I was making and how much waste clothes make. It made me realize the importance of recycling, buying things without all of that unnecessary packaging, and buying secondhand. It also made me remember the importance of working as a community in stopping these issues and to create change. I'm concerned about my future because I don't want to be breathing in bad air and going to places full of trash. I don't want the world to stay dirty, and I'm driven to transition LBUSD to renewable energy because it will help us be green, save energy, and save money for other school activities. This holiday season, I want to see LBUSD take accountability for the planet. While I work on my own to make environmentally positive changes, such as thrifting and creating less plastic, I want to see LBUSD also take responsibility. Please continue working with Long Beach Green Schools campaign to see the passage of 100% clean, renewable energy resolution. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you too. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. My name is Dianna Michaelson, and I'm from the Long Beach Green Schools campaign, and I know I've had the honor to speak and meet with many of the wonderful people in this room, so I just think it's really interesting. I haven't actually ever talked about my own experience with climate change, so I guess that's what I'll do today. So growing up in the coastal city of Long Beach, I definitely visited the ocean a lot. And, while my siblings would often play in the waves, building sandcastles, I was definitely the weird kid that liked to explore the tide pools. Like, seriously, I wouldn't swim. I would just go in the tide pools, which I was totally fine with, but I've just definitely grown an attachment to the tide pools, and it's a really beautiful area. For me especially, I was able to really spend time to look at whether it was just the crabs skittering on the rocks or the sea anemones swaying the waves. I really grew an appreciation for this. And obviously, sea level rise, it's a dire situation. Last time I checked, by 2030 or 2050, we're expecting at least 2 feet of sea level rise in Long Beach alone. And that's terrifying. And for me, that's particularly scary because of the tide pools. Frankly, we don't know what's going to happen to those organisms. We don't know if they'll be able to move upstream. Will they be able to adapt, or will they just die off? And it's a very fragile ecosystem, we learned, but that's the whole problem with climate change, is we have no idea what's happening, or we have some idea of what's happening, but we don't really know how it's going to affect us because this has never happened to us before. And so in this scary time for me in terms of the climate anxiety that comes with fear of losing tide pools, I've learned that, this is a problem across all fields of climate change, whether it's air quality, whether it's social justice. We don't really know how it's going to affect us in the long run. And so as gloomy and as dreary as that all sounded, I think that there is definitely a lot of hope in this, and it's that we know exactly what the problem is. It's not like we're going into this blinded. We know that the way to do this is to stop the use of of fossil fuels like natural gas and coal, and obviously LBUSD plays a role in that. I think that LBUSD, not only are we a leader for other school districts, for the city, for the nation as a whole, but for our students as well. I know I have been talking to my brother. I've seen him learn about climate change, and I've seen him be scared as well. In fact, that was him who spoke earlier today, and him just struggling to comprehend these ideas of, why won't my mom let me play outside? Why will I not be able to run on the beach in 10 years? Well, it's because it won't be there. And that's what I've been struggling with. So please join me in fulfilling my Christmas gift of transitioning LBUSD to clean energy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. I do want to take a moment to thank everyone that came out tonight to provide public comment on this chilly night, but also everyone that has provided public comment this last year, whether that was done virtually or by email or coming in person. I know to some folks it may seem that we don't listen or that your public comments don't make a difference, but they do. And I know that from our district perspective, it also reminds us to be mindful in both what we communicate and how we communicate about things. Some of the comments that we hear, because they're not on the agenda, we can't immediately respond to, but there are many folks here from our district. Our whole executive leadership team is here. They're all taking notes. I know that doesn't come up on camera. I see all of you taking notes. I know that all of the comments that we hear inform and shape our work, our decision making, our strategies, our strategic thinking that may not always show themselves through these meetings. So if folks are only tuning in to these 2 meetings a month, sometimes 3, other times 1, there may be some frustration as to why we're not responding or why we're not talking directly to some of the comments that are being made. I would encourage folks to reach out to us. We do need to be mindful as a district on what gets communicated, because sometimes we'll communicate something, but not everyone knows what was communicated or when it was communicated. And so it does take us down a Pandora's box, right, of recommunicating the same thing. But that doesn't mean we're not listening, right? I also think we are very mindful that we can also communicate on what basis we're making decisions. We oftentimes have workshops that last a few hours, but we understand that they're also occurring in the middle of the day when not everyone has a chance to view those workshops. So all that to say, please keep engaging us. Please hold us accountable. Please continue to provide public comment. Please reach out to us. We may not get back to you immediately that minute, But we are reading, we are listening, we are here for our communities, for our public. Ultimately, as was referenced, we are elected by our respective communities, and we're here to serve our respective communities. So this is one of the opportunities that our communities have to engage with us. It's one of the civic important roles that we have here. So I just want to be very mindful that in this last year, because this is our last meeting, public comment is extremely important to us. Irrespective of whether we feel comfortable about it or not, it is our role to receive public comment and to use public comment to inform our decision making. So thank you, and thank you to my colleagues for also actively listening. We all, in our own way, shape or form, take notes, respond, share these comments with staff, share these comments amongst ourselves. So thank you to everyone that comes out, and there'll be actually more information regarding some of the things that we heard about tonight that our district will be sharing and communicating about. So let's move on to our next item on the agenda. That's the staff report. We have none tonight. And so we will move on to our business items. And first item is certificated personnel report. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Benitez. I present the following proposed actions prepared by the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource Services, approved and recommended by the Superintendent. First, certificated personnel. Appointments, we have 38. And service changes, we have 6. Leaves of absence, we have 5. Resignations, we have 1. Retirements, we have 4. And amendments, we have 1. That's certificated personnel.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? I will take a roll call vote. Ms. Craighead, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. Classified personnel report.
Once again, I present the following proposed actions prepared by the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource Services, approved and recommended by the Superintendent. For our classified and exempt personnel, appointments, we have 61. Leaves of absence, we have 15. Terminations, we have 3. Abandonments, we have 4. Resignations, we have 16. Retirements, we have 11. And amendments, we have 14.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Zaid, can you talk a little bit to the 14 amendments?
Sure. So 1 or 2 amendments is normal. 14 is an abnormal number, and there was a small glitch in the conversion upload, and 12 of them went in as a retirement when it actually should have been a resignation. And so when that occurs, we fix it through an amendment on the next board meeting. So that's why that number is higher on tonight.
Out of curiosity, Mr. Zaid, how do we find out when that glitch happens?
Well, that faith that you have in our HR department. After the board meetings, we go through the votes that were taken, and we go back through each one of the documents and take a look at it. And anytime we find out that there is a mismatch, we'll do a correction. And so that's how it was caught, and the amendment was recommended.
Excellent. Any other discussion?
Yes, I want to request that Ms. Craighead have some water. Sounds like you're a little good.
Thank you. I do have water. Maybe I should drink it.
Trying to find the connection here to the HR customer service. Any further discussion while Ms. Craighead takes a sip of the water?
Just trying to confirm that her health is at its highest in regards to her hydration. That's where it's connected to.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. A little playful tonight. I love it, Mr. Miller. Further discussion that's related to this item on the agenda. Okay, let's take a roll call vote. I'll start with you, Mr. Miller, so Ms. Craighead can keep drinking some water.
Yeah. Aye.
Ms. Kerr.
Aye.
You ready, Ms. Craighead?
I think so.
Okay. How do you vote?
Am I sounding good?
You-
Aye. I
you
vote
sound great.
aye. That's strong.
You
That's-
sound great, yeah. And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. And by all means, colleagues, if we need to mute ourselves, drink some water, get up, stretch around, let's feel free to do that. Let's move on to our instruction report, item 17.3.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's take a roll call vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. I think the executive staff is getting nervous here because they're like, oh, we might finish early tonight, and we are prolonging this meeting, Mr. Miller. Finance Report A.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Craighead, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. Finance Report B.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I recuse myself from participation in Finance Report B on the consent calendar. I have a potential financial interest under Government Code 1091 and 87100. My husband works for a subcontractor who has done work for the payees.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Any further discussion? Let's take a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 3-0 with 1 abstention. Business Department Report.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? I do have a question, Mr. Moskowitz. Can you talk about a little bit about our California State Preschool Continuing Funding grant?
Yeah, so our California State Preschool program here in the district is our Child Development Centers, or CDC, and this is just an annual application that they need to submit in order to receive the funding for the following school year.
Great. So basically, this keeps us going.
So we're applying for the same number of slots so that we'll be able to maintain the program that we have.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. That passes 4-0. Purchasing and Contracts Report.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I actually had a quick question. I noticed on item 6, it's the PK program is being done at EPHS, which I know it's been done at other elementary schools and middle schools, and I love that we're doing outreach to parents and parent training of our EPHS students.
Any further discussion? And that's the Parent Institute for Quality Education, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, let's take a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller? And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. We will move on to other items, superintendent items, student discipline. Dr. Baker?
Thank you. Members of the board, as a representative from Student Placement Services, I'm recommending expulsion of the following students from schools within the district. I have 3 expulsion recommendations tonight. The first is student number 935. This student would be expelled under Education Codes 48915C2 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after June 15, 2022. However, Student Placement Services has made the recommendation that the student be expelled with a consideration for a suspended expulsion with an opportunity to attend another school within LBUSD.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Craighead, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. Administrative assignment.
I do have 2 other student expulsions,
sorry.
unfortunately.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay. Student ID 805. This student would be expelled under Education Codes 48900.7 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after June 15, 2022.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Let's take a vote. Ms. Craighead, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. That passes 4-0. And the third student?
Thank you. Student number 985. This student would be expelled under Education Code 48915C1 and would not be eligible to apply for readmission until after June 15th, 2022.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll take a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that also passes 4-0. Now we can move on to administrative.
Thank
assignment,
you.
Dr. Baker.
On a brighter note, I'd like to recommend Brandon Messina, who is currently a teacher on special assignment in student support services, to the acting program administrator in student support services effective December 10th, 2021. He is substituting for an absent administrator at this time. This is not a vacancy.
Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second?
Any discussion? We'll take a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. Unfinished business, we have none. New business, we have board policy 1312.3, or uniform complaint procedures.
Move approval?
Second.
A discussion. So, Mr. Zaid, do you want to take these one at a time?
So I can just share, similar to the board policies that were updated on December 1st. At that time, we shared that board policies are periodically reviewed to ensure that they are updated to reflect the recent legislation and changes in the law. And the 3 board policies that are before you tonight, the uniform complaint procedures, sexual harassment for personnel, and sexual harassment for students. The changes reflect the non-discrimination language, and they are all a part of the education equity. The major change that you'll see is the addition of our Title IX coordinator and UCP compliance officer, which is Kim Dalton, and our new equity compliance officer, which is Steve Rockenbach. And so that includes the major changes that are included, so that if we have personnel or if we have students who need to file a sexual harassment complaint or concern, it shares exactly who it is filed with and some of the steps that are taken. So I hope that helps with all 3 and why they're updated.
Thank you, Mr. Zaid. Any further discussion? Okay, let's take these one at a time. Ms. Kerr, Ms. Craighead, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. The next item, as Mr. Zaid already referenced, is board policy 4119.11, sexual harassment personnel. Do we have a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question on the elimination of definitions according to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission guidelines. I was wondering why we're eliminating all that. It's, let me see what paragraph. 3rd paragraph down, maybe?
So when we are going through and let me just make sure that my mic is on. So when we are going through and reviewing our policies, one of the things that we're using is our California School Boards Association, looking at the recommendations that are made to policies and then going back through and looking at what recommendations. Sometimes the information is redundant, and then sometimes that information is updated in new ways, where you'll see that we've added in some of those updates there at the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that one passes 4-0. Item 20.3, board policy 5145.7, sexual harassment students.
Move approval.
Second?
Any discussion on the item? Okay, we'll take a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. And now we move on to first interim financial report for 2021-2022. Ms. Renee Arcus. Walk us through this hefty document, Renee.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, President Benitez, board members, Superintendent Baker, executive staff, and community members. I first want to let Mr. Miller know that there may be a break in my voice as well. It's not a lack of hydration, but related to an intense soccer game last night in which one parent may have gotten a little loud.
Did the team win, Ms. Arcus? That's what's important.
I probably wouldn't have told you that if they didn't.
Excellent.
They did. So thank you for having me this evening. It's my pleasure to bring to you the first interim for 21-22. And it's our first shot at getting a snapshot of how we as a district are doing financially. The board is required to certify whether the district can meet its financial obligations for this year and the next 2 years, and we are coming forth with a recommendation for a positive certification for this interim. This report takes into account our actuals through October 31st and our projections through the remainder of the year, as well as 2 additional years. I want to start off with the highlights. Today we will be focusing on our general fund budget, our district's main operating fund. I'm going to talk about our revenues in the beginning, and I'll give you some more in-depth information about these. The bulk of our general fund revenues are made up of our local control funding formula from the state of California, and there's 2 main drivers in this revenue. The drivers are attendance rate, which is related to, of course, our enrollment, and our unduplicated pupil student percentage. What I want to point out on this particular screen is in 22-23, we've talked about it a lot. The state decided in 2021 that they were going to hold harmless our attendance from 1920, and that resulted in some good revenues for 21-22. But that does sunshine in 22-23, so we are going to experience about a $54 million loss of revenue in 22-23. You can see the next few years, we do have some increased COLAs, and we're hopeful for some increased attendance rates that will start bringing up those revenues.
Ms. Arcus, could you just explain what sunshining refers to?
Yes, that was a 1-year deal by the state of California, and they will not be allowing us to continue with that. So the attendance rates that we use were from 1920 in 21-22, and in 22-23, we will be using this year's attendance rates for our calculation in our revenue.
Thank you.
Thank you. So here's some factors that bring those numbers to fruition. We have been reporting for many, many years approximately about a 2% decline in our district in our enrollment, and therefore it's usually related to our ADA attendance. Last year, we experienced over 3% in enrollment drop, and this year, while it is an improvement at 2.65, we are still experiencing large enrollment drops. We are projecting for the next 3 years a continued decrease in enrollment, which will obviously affect our attendance rates that I'm going to talk about next. On average, our district has been very good at having about a 95 to a 96% attendance rate of our students coming to school. However, the impact of the pandemic is upon us, and we are seeing much lower rates of attendance in this school year. And since that is how we get paid, we're anticipating a 91.81% attendance in this year, which will start to reflect the decline in revenues in the out years. In hopes of a return of some normalcy, we do have some increased attendance percentages that are heading back towards our 95 to 96% rate in hopes that we can once again get there. The unduplicated pupil count, which we've discussed in board meetings before, is the number of students in need in our district, in a sense. We have been remaining currently about 67%. However, this year, probably impacted by a 3% drop last year and a 2.65% drop in enrollment this year, we are also seeing those same students not showing up in our unduplicated count as well. So we're seeing that we're going to be about 65% for our enrollment, which is going to affect our supplemental and concentration funds, and therefore our LCAP. Two more factors that we're showing in our revenue is the cost of living allowance, or the COLA, as many people refer to it. And we, in 2021, we got a 0% COLA, in which the state did provide a 5.07% COLA in this year, which did help. They call it a super COLA for this year. And in the next 3 years, we're anticipating anywhere from 2.5% to 3.5% in COLAs based on state projections. Those increases help to impact a little bit of the loss that we experience in the other areas. Our federal CARES Act funding, we have a multi-year plan, as we've discussed many times, and it's represented quite well in our Learning Acceleration Plan. And this year, we're anticipating spending about $144 million of those dollars. We have right now a remaining $410 million. And these revenues and expenditures, as outlined in the Learning Acceleration Plan, are also in our first interim. So I want to talk a little bit about our expenditure pattern as well. I just shared a slide with you. As you can see, our revenues are going downward dramatically in next year, and then only slightly increasing in the next few years. The expenditures pattern is a little bit different. We are experiencing some increased expenditures over the next few years that will impact the district. Here's the factors that go into these increased expenditure numbers. We did have a little bit of a break with a $4 million decrease in expenditures this year, mostly associated with some vacant positions. As you can imagine, it's been tough staffing here at Long Beach Unified in both the certificated and the classified arena. And some of those lack in staffing has resulted in some vacancies that we are recouping in reduced expenditures. However, in the out years, what we have is a reflection of some increased expenditures related to expiration of one-time funds, in which we return the expenditures related to ongoing activities, increased health benefit costs, increased retirement system contributions. We expect that some COVID-related expenses will likely continue on into many years in the future, and the projections that I've shared with you tonight do not include any impact of labor negotiations that have not yet been settled. So what does this tell us about our unrestricted ending balance, how we're looking? Our ending balances are an indicator of our fiscal health. The cushion that we have with some unrestricted balances can help in a downturn, which you'll see shortly. And the unrestricted balance changes are a reflection of demonstrate the relationship between revenues and expenditures at our district. This slide is basically a representation of our unrestricted ending balances. As you can see, we are projecting about a $348.2 million ending balance for this fiscal year. But from what I just showed you, with the decrease in revenues and increase in expenditures, we're expecting a downturn of our ending balances in the next foreseeable future. Our goal is to continue to monitor spending, keep a watchful eye on our revenues, and make necessary and impactful adjustments whenever possible. The next steps that we'll be looking forward to bringing back to you as a board is our governor's budget is coming out in mid-January, and he will give us insight into what they think the new budget will be for 22-23. We'll be looking closely at that. There's been a lot of talk about what could be coming, and we're going to use that information to reflect in our second interim financial report, which is due in March 15th of 2022. So we'll bring that back to you as well with any updated numbers for the current and out years. We're going to continue to engage our community in prioritizing our spending through our budget engagement process and bring you those results as well.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Colleagues, do we have any questions for Ms. Arcus? So, Renee, just I want to highlight a couple of things, and then I would ask you if you could expand on it, because I think bottom line for me, the slide that shows where we end up with our ending balance 2024, 2025, really the way I'm looking at that is that puts us below our ending balance 5 years ago, 2016, 2017, considerably below, almost $20 million below. So the information you provided was very thorough and the explanation was super clear, but I do think it's important because our budget is so complicated. I'm wondering if you can highlight, and you covered it, right? But if you could highlight 2 points. One, and I'm saying it because of the importance that our funding is on our student success efforts, right? So everything we do is contingent our funding and our expenditures, and thus decisions that we make about expenditures are anchored in our projections around what we can pay for, basically. So two points that you hit on, Renee, and just if you could recap and highlight. The financial impact of decreased enrollments vis-a-vis attendance, and the impact of our unduplicated student count in terms of how that impacts why we're projecting out to be basically in deficit spending next year moving forward. So can you touch on those 2 points again, Renee? The impact financially and of decreased enrollments, like if we're at 2.5%, or what's the difference between 2.5% and 3.5%, or 2% and 3%, and then our unduplicated student count, we were at 67%. What's the impact if we are at 65 and/or continue to go low? Because in essence, if we're losing students or we're experiencing decreased enrollments vis-a-vis our attendance, and those students also happen to be our unduplicated students, can you share some thoughts on what that looks like for our budget projections?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Benitez, for the opportunity to expand on that. The attendance factors, it's a complex calculation by the state of California to come up with our local control funding formula. But we've broken it down into a kind of general amount that we lose for every % that we lose in attendance. And that's the factor we've been going with. It's about $7 million per loss in % of attendance for our students not coming to school. So that in and of itself is very impactful. That's why we have high hopes that we can experience some increased attendance as we go out towards the out years and start to improve upon that. The second factor that you highlighted is also a very important one. It's our unduplicated pupil percentage. The hard part about this one is that it impacts you in the current year. While our attendance percentage may be delayed and is delayed into 1 year out, the current revenue will drop in the current year that we're working in as we're collecting percentage of unduplicated pupils. So this year, and it's also based on a rolling average. So while we have been steadily at 67%, we haven't seen a drop that was related to specifically unduplicated pupils. However, this drop in 65% with a rolling average is kind of going to slowly start a downturn as we head towards possible 65%. And a 2% drop in this year resulted in $4 million. And like I said, it's very important to bring that up because it's impactful to the year that we're in. We don't finalize those numbers till about this time frame. We're about to get those locked in. And we are going upon a history of what we've had, and therefore the drop will actually show in the current year and then therefore in the out years as well.
Thank you, Renee. Hence the importance of this interim report, right? Because we experienced that drop that year that this report reflects.
Exactly.
Yeah. Colleagues?
Renee, what's the threshold for receiving concentration grant funding? Because
So
we know there's a base amount and then supplemental,
Right.
but are we getting closer to what that cutoff is for concentration?
The base amount is 55%. I want to remind, and then after that, we do get a supplemental portion that's related to every student over 55%. So at 65%, do we have a little bit of space there? Yes, we do. It is intensified as you start to see that drop, and that will come up in the LCAP. Again, even our attendance, our percentage of dollars will reflect in the LCAP as well, because it's a total drop in revenue, and therefore even highly impacted by a drop in unduplicated percentage as well.
And the 55% is based on the percent of our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, our students in foster care, and our English learners?
And free and reduced,
And free and reduced,
lunch.
yeah.
That's most of the factors that are involved in that percentage.
Any other questions, colleagues? Thank you for the super thorough and clear report, Renee. Now go drink a lozenge or put some honey on that throat.
There's more soccer next week.
This is an action item, right? So we need a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
I guess further discussion. Great job, Renee. Let's take a vote. Ms. Craighead.
Aye.
Ms. Kerr.
Aye.
Mr. Miller.
Aye.
And I also vote aye, so that passes 4-0. And we will be vigilant on what our financial projections look like next year. We are at, this is a good one to read. Item 20.5, resolution number 121521-A, a resolution of the Governing Board of Education of the Long Beach Unified School District authorizing submittal of surplus property waiver applications for 999 Atlantic Avenue, Long Beach, California 90813, and 4310 Long Beach Boulevard, Long Beach, California 90807 to the State Board of Education. Mr. Miranda, what you got for us?
Yes. Thank you, members of the board, Superintendent Baker, executive staff, and our wonderful audience. So I bring before you another lengthy and largely worded resolution, and I just want to walk you through some of the highlights this evening.
As long as it doesn't have things in the resolution, Mr. Miranda.
I've been thinking about that for the last couple weeks, by the way. So first and foremost, with respect to surplus properties, school districts across the state are required to comply with education code. Education code specifically calls out the process by which we have to follow to deem the property surplus and, of course, ultimately to dispose of the properties. We've had periodic updates we've shared with the board along the way, sharing information compiled by the Asset Management Advisory Committee, ultimately presenting the report that the committee prepared. At one point during our presentations, we really started focusing in our efforts on two specific properties, and those are the two vacant properties before you at 999 Atlantic and 4310 Long Beach Boulevard. Want to note for the public and remind folks that these are non-school sites, so they're vacant properties. They've been vacant for 4 to 7 years respectively, and really they continue to cost us ongoing funds, right, with respect to maintenance and security funds. Going forward year after year. Our most recent activity with regards to these properties included a public offering process. So we basically offered the properties to local agencies, county agencies as specified by the education code as well. This entailed roughly a 60-day window. There was a little bit of interest initially on some of these properties. Ultimately, we received word from every one of these agencies that they were going to forego and just pass on the properties at this time. So that gets us to where we are now in terms of the next step, and that's this resolution. So traditionally, school districts have the option of following the ed code and going forward with an open bidding requirement. So in essence, putting the properties out to bid, seeking the highest bid and proceeding forward. Alternatively, and really in response to board feedback, we'd like to pursue a waiver, right? And that's something that the education code also allows. We're required to adopt a resolution to do so. So as part of the action this evening, and in adopting this resolution, you would approve staff and authorize staff to prepare the waiver to submit to the State Board of Education. We're also asking for approval to seek out the services of a broker to assist us with marketing these two properties and really generating interest in the two properties. In addition, we'd be looking to develop and issue an RFP to developers and just interested parties who'd like to pursue development in these two areas. And lastly, you'd be adopting the criteria by which we select a company or a developer ultimately that we'd recommend for approval on these two parcels. That criteria includes 5 specific categories, and I'll just briefly outline them. So this includes the price or the actual bid from the proposer, and the bulk of the points or the percentage of the points would be focused in on that price category. Yet we also outline 4 additional areas. One of the larger areas or next areas is a community good component. So again, in response to board feedback and in really trying to do good by the Long Beach community, we've assigned a good healthy number of points to that specific category. Sample projects would include housing, community centers, perhaps clinics to offer up support with mental health type issues and so forth. We also have smaller categories or points that we've dedicated to local developers, financial capability. So in that specific category, we'd be looking to see which specific developer proposer can in fact see this project through and make sure it goes forward with completion. And then a smaller point category for small businesses and disabled business enterprises as well. So with that, that's really what we presented before you this evening. Lastly, I want to finish with a timeline. So this process has been lengthy. We're of course being compliant with the Ed Code. We're looking at likely another 6 months or so just to see this all the way through. So we would prepare this waiver application and submit it to the state in January. The next state board meeting would take place in March. That would put us in a position where we could issue the RFP to interested parties, and we'd likely collect those responses sometime in the spring. So by the time we rate the proposals and evaluate every one of those proposals with a team of in-house staff, we would come forward with a recommendation back to the board in the summer.
Great, thank you, Mr. Miranda. So do we have any questions, colleagues? I do have one question, and then we'll get to your comment. So is the waiver required for the sale of any and all surplus property, what's the why are we going through a waiver, Mr. Miranda?
So the waiver is only required if we want to deviate from the traditional open bidding process.
Got it.
So if we were to provide with a traditional open bidding process, we could just proceed forward with that today. But because we'd like to include this specific criteria and just have a different, unique process, the waiver is required.
Yep, I think that's important to highlight. Okay, that was the only question I had.
Yeah, my only comment, thank you. I know this process has taken a long time, but I appreciate staff really listening to this board and wanting not only to get a fair price for properties and do right by taxpayers, but to also see if there's community benefits and enhancements for the community that we serve. So I know the waiver process takes a little bit longer, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to do good in the process of all of this. So thanks for your hard work on it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? I sign off on everything that Board Member Kerr just said. Thank you. Okay, let's take it to a vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye, 4-0. Thank you for all your work on this, Mr. Miranda. Keep us posted.
Move approval?
Second.
Look at that, Leticia, keeping us in check. Nice. Nice. Thank you, Leticia. Yeah, stand up, Leticia. Let's give you a round of applause for keeping us in check. Yeah, nice, yeah. Okay, do we have a second? I'm sorry. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's go to the vote. Ms. Craighead?
Aye.
Ms. Kerr?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. Did I mess up again? So that passes 4-0. Thank you. We are moving on now to our board member reports. Mr. Miller, why don't you start us off?
Yes. So I got about two things going on. First, I wanted to acknowledge a City of Long Beach champion, not only just for the African American community, but also for our female residents as well, and Miss Doris Topsy-Elvord. Her passing is a big one for a number of reasons. Not only was she an elected official who advocated for the African American community, she was also one who fought pretty heavy for female rights as well. One of the things that I appreciated about her more than anything was her her love for people, for lack of a better term. I was introduced to Mother Doris, which is what she's known in the streets by, I was introduced by my Mother Doris by my uncle Kenny, who unfortunately passed away recently due to COVID. But Mother Doris, my Uncle Kenny told Mother Doris that I was interested in running for local politics. And he told me, you can't do nothing in the city of Long Beach without talking to Mother Doris first. And he was absolutely right. As I went to her house, and once again, I didn't know her. I'd never met her before. But she let me in with open arms. And when she let me in with open arms, we're talking, and she made me a cup of instant coffee and made me something to eat. Southern food, of course. I got to know her personally, but more importantly, she was trying to get to know me and why I was running and what interests me in political office to begin with. And as we began to talk more and more, obviously she knew my Uncle Kenny, and she put two and two together that I also was the nephew of her late friend, Carrie Bryant. And she just lit up as my Aunt Carrie Bryant used to own a school in the 6th District that she used to represent. And she was all too familiar with creative arts. And so she went into this chest that she had in her living room and opened it up. And she had a book probably this thick on Long Beach history. And there was one portion just dedicated to my aunt. And she was like, I knew your auntie better than anybody. And she begins to read, and she let me hold this book, and I go through it, and it's just pages and pages of great African Americans that have grown up here in the city that she captured and met and took pictures with. And right then and there, I recognized how much she loved her community and loved her people. And so, though she is no longer with us today, I like to think that that love that she showed me on that day and that rite of passage that I went through is something that I think that every African American elected official had to go through. And I feel very, very humbled and blessed to have got to know her and to build a relationship with her. The next thing that I wanted to talk about, because our next board meeting isn't until mid-January, funny enough, has some relationship to Mother Doris here, is the MLK parade. I can remember 364 days ago, which was my first board meeting, or actually it was probably a little bit later than that. But I came here and I talked about how the MLK parade is a big deal in my household. My dad loves the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, what he represented, and the work that he did for our community, and he will definitely be in town for this parade. He's not missing it this year, as there's going to be a real parade, an in-person parade on January 15th, coming right down MLK, and I am going to highly, highly suggest that all attend, as I think it's going to be a momentous event. I know that I'll be participating. I'm pretty excited. Coincidentally, this parade was first started by Mother Doris, as when she was a council member and vice mayor. So it's going to be a momentous event, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Ms. Craighead.
Well, I enjoyed the the very personal story, and I'm going to keep my comments brief. I just wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and I'm hoping everybody gets a chance to have a break and relax. I know everybody's been working very hard, and things have been tough all the way around. So if everybody could just take some time, gather with family, enjoy good food, and be happy and healthy.
Thank you, Ms. Craighead. Ms. Kerr?
Yeah, I just want to shout out the Jordan Holiday concert that happened on Friday night. It's it's good to be back together for some of those events. And so it was a packed house, over 1,000 in the newly renovated auditorium, enjoying dance performances, choral performances, string instruments, the band, as usual. And this year they did a video presentation of How the Grinch Stole Christmas with the students in functional academics. Stephanie Osborne is their lead, and she collaborates with Miss Irish and the whole JMAC team to make that happen. So, Mr. Itzen, if you're listening, I'd love for you to put that YouTube link out of that performance and collaboration for everyone to enjoy. And I want to thank Dr. Baker for attending and supporting.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr, and I want to echo our happy holidays and happy New Year sentiments as well. And because we are going to be more than a month away from our next school board meeting, I sort of take for granted, I'm a parent here in the district, and I constantly get emails, phone calls, and text messages. So I want to remind parents, if you go on to Parent View, you can check off how you want our district to communicate with you. So I, of course, check all of them, and I get back-to-back call, text, and email on many things. But there's everything from parent university stuff to our superintendent's meetings and functions to committees that our district offers parent engagement opportunities to reminders about completing surveys on there. And again, I do take for granted the communications piece. So, oftentimes I'll have parents, community members say, I didn't get anything, and I need to remind them, well, although it is a little bit cumbersome, Mr. Grayson, that if you go on, you can check off your preferred method of communication and your preferred language, because I get mine in Spanish too, as well. So I think it's important, right, to stay engaged, stay vigilant, and continue holding us accountable up here. And one way to do that is by being informed and staying up to date with all of our district events, activities, happenings, postings, and the like. So I will also take a moment to acknowledge and recognize our two newest school board members, Mr. Miller and Mr. Otto. Although Mr. Otto's not here, you did say 364 days ago. It may seem that long, Mr. Miller. But I want to acknowledge your commitment to serving our students, right? And both of you jumped in a difficult time. And your first year, was partially remote, right? And now we're here in December in person, all right? So thank you, Mr. Miller and Mr. Otto, who's not well tonight, if you're watching and listening, for your commitment to our student success and for serving our communities in your capacity. In addition to my two wonderful colleagues here, Ms. Craighead and Ms. Kerr, during this holiday season, one of the things we can take a moment to do is, be thankful. And I want to express my gratitude for all of my colleagues' service, but particularly for that first tough year, including our superintendent, that you all committed to serve. And so,
thank you.
I will now move us to our superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'll continue some of the gratitude and actually build on a few things that were shared. This year's MLK Parade, we will have our truck, and if you participate, you'll be joined by the senior team and yourselves and probably some students, as has been a tradition for us. And so look forward to seeing all of you there. Also tomorrow evening, in partnership with Long Beach Health Department, Dr. Davis will be joined by Dr. Claudia Sosa Valderrama from our team for an information session about student vaccines. There are on social media, as well as the health department's, I believe it's their Facebook page. Questions can be submitted in advance. I know that was a question from a member of the public tonight. It is not something that there aren't live questions, because they may have hundreds of questions that come in. What I know about the health department is that they will stay on and continue to answer as many of the questions that they can in that session. And then Dr. Sosa Valderrama will also be there to represent some of the work of our district and to connect with parents and help them. I want to express congratulations on behalf of our school district on the appointment of Dr. Mike Munoz to the presidency of Long Beach City College. Yes, let's give a shout out to him. Many of you know, or you know, that Dr. Munoz has been serving as the interim president, and we are so fortunate that he has now been appointed to the official presidency. He brings an incredible experience, a commitment to equity. In his interim days, he secured a $30 million plus grant to serve the students at Long Beach City College in their equity-centered efforts, and they are already activating on that grant and making a difference. And so I'm excited about the College Promise. In fact, tomorrow I'll be with Jane Close-Connolly and Mike Munoz for a planning session for our future College Promise. We have made a strong commitment, along with the mayor and other partners, that we will take the about first decade of the College Promise, learn from it, look at our data, and double down on our efforts to ensure that all students in this community, especially our Black and brown students who have not had the same college going rate as others, have that commitment across our city. Want to thank staff who have made huge contributions to students in this holiday season, recognizing that not all families have what they need to feel like they're having a holiday celebration. Our local branch, NAACP, collected 307 gift cards to give out to elementary students, and Mr. Moskowitz is working with them to make that distribution. In this building, we had hundreds of gift cards that will go to our foster unit to give out to families for use in the holidays and in future days. And what I know about school staffs, teachers, office staffs, and our business community, they toss in their own money so that they can contribute books and things that help students feel like they have something to celebrate during the holidays. Let's see, also on my list. So just want to give a huge encouragement to our staff. It has been quite a year. In fact, many would say that this year, this calendar year, has been harder than the year before it. Hard to imagine, but our staff has worked incredibly hard under difficult circumstances, and I just want to encourage them to rest and to find something that is joyful and soak up the time during this winter recess. For students, want to encourage you to be active and also rest. It's a time when students sometimes, they're catching up on work so that when they come back, the end of the semester comes, but also to get some rest and have some fun, and to do so safely. This is a time when we see the numbers ticking up relative to COVID, and so it's enticing to get together with people, but please do so safely if you are convening. And then lastly, we're about to hit a new year, 2022, and so I'm just holding out the continued imagination of possibilities that exist for our students. I'm fortunate to work with this amazing Board of Education that is envisioning and getting ready to go out into the community and collect insight from our community about the vision that we have for the future of our students. And so I wish all of you rest and a happy new year before we see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Any announcements, colleagues? Ms. Kerr, will you close us out?
I will. First announcement, at the Doris Topsy Elvord Community Center at Houghton Park is the 9th District Community Christmas Party tomorrow, so please join us for that. And I ask that we close the meeting in honor of two extraordinary women. The first is feminist author and poet Bell Hooks, who passed today. And second, as Mr. Miller gave a very personal experience of Mother Doris, in honor of Doris Topsy Elvord, who passed at 90 years old today. She's known as Mother Doris for her legendary work in the community and being both the first Black woman to be elected to the Long Beach City Council and the first Black person to serve on the Harbor Commission. She was a community icon and history maker and broke barriers and glass ceilings everywhere that she went. And she also served Long Beach Unified School District and served as the vice president of our Personnel Commission. She was also on the Civil Service Commission for Long Beach. And she left her mark in the incredible legacy of leaders that she has trained up and mentored over her many, many decades. So I ask that we close this meeting in her honor tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Have a good night, everyone. Stay safe, and happy holidays to you all.